Oh, hi there. It's Dr. Rich McLean, and I'm currently a patient of Monash Health, Casey. I've got a bit of a problem here, which has been unconfirmed. Last month, I was committed to Dandenong Psych Unit for 2 weeks. It's basically a political prisoner. And what's clear now is the government means me harm. I know this because I'm banned in AFCA. The Australian Human Rights Commission won't validate or acknowledge a documented human rights abuse, and the Ombudsman has refused all further communication, rejected my public interest disclosure. The Mental Health Complaints Commissioner won't respond. The Prime Minister himself knows of my situation, but he's referred me, whilst neglecting to act, to the Attorney General, Mark Dreyfus, and Mark Dreyfus has never acknowledged my problems or the systemic and profound corruption which is in the government, and he's cleverly excused himself of responsibility by sending me to IGIS, who investigate ASIO, for the corrupt conduct of my former partner, Steve Isonides, who was an ASIO agent and has now threatened to kill me and my dog. And they also referred me to the Ombudsman, where of course I'm already a failed whistleblower, and they've refused all further contact. So going back about a month, as a vulnerable person who's had his money systemically and politically redacted from him over about, 20 years, worth about $20 million, I was being discharged, and there was a psychiatrist there who did me a lot of grief. She was very mean to me, and it's my perspective that the government and the arms of the government, healthcare, whatever, are actually acting to do me harm. So just before I was discharged, to really nothing, Virginia Lay, her name's Dr. Virginia Lay, she's at Monash Health at Dandenong Hospital. She told me in her parting comments that I was HIV positive. Surprise to me, because I'd actually been on PrEP, an anti-HIV drug. So if I was exposed to it, which I wasn't, then it would neutralise all attacks. So it's a problem for me that it's been months later. I've never had a test, and Virginia Lay, Dr. Virginia Lay, the psychiatrist at Dandenong Psych Ward, was the one who told me that devastating news just before I was released, and I believe that was to, act to obviously cause me harm and cause me distress. For all those people who do have HIV or STD, it's not a shameful thing to have that happen to you, and it's obviously just sometimes bad luck. I'm in support of all the people who are HIV positive or have been diagnosed with things that is outside of their control. There's no shame in that, but the way Virginia Lay lumped it on me, she absolutely knew I was vulnerable, and she absolutely was acting with intention in order to cause me distress just before I was released into the community. So fast forward, I've had various NDIS providers. There's been Free Living Australia, there's been personalised support services, there's been Care Paradigm, and they've all exploited me, taken advantage of me, and they've all left me in the lurch. The most recent one being Personalised Support Services, who rejected me from the safe accommodation, even though I had death threats, and that was proven. And they forced me onto the street, into my car and away from the house, and forced me to leave my dog and my possessions. The duty of care doesn't stop when they decide it stops. I'm contracted to them as a client under the NDIS, and they're under the NDIS Code of Conduct, which means they must report abuse, victimisation, or poor treatment of an NDIS client. And of course, this has obviously happened to me, but they have become, in essence, my abusers who are enacting that harm, which everybody knows. I've warned over and over to personalised support services that in actual fact great harm could come to me if I moved on, and I begged to stay there. But they moved me on the Thursday and forced me out into the street. I was on the run, a literal innocent vagrant and a fugitive on the road. But then they tricked me. They tricked me into going back to the house where I could stay because I've got no money. And I went back to the house, and then they actually sent the police, a whole gang of them, and the CAT team. I didn't suit the criteria to be hospitalised. That was clear, but that decision was already made before the police and the CAT team got there. They're all in cahoots with one another, and personalised support services wanted to hospitalise me in order to wash their hands of me, evict me from their property, evict my dog from the property, and get rid of me. They have a duty of care to look after me, and I'm still contracted to them, and I'm still their client. And then the next day, they actually said to me, if you don't pick up your dog within the next hour, we'll rehome her to the RSPCA and she'll go to another home. This was entirely distressing for me, who'd been hospitalised again by this stage as a political prisoner, and I begged and pleaded to get Sue Ellen Green to go and help rescue my dog. And thank you, Sue Ellen, and thank you to Peter, her partner, for picking her up. He picked her up, took her home, and it's been a desperate scramble to try and get her to go into somewhere. And I'm here now as a voluntary patient at Monash Health Casey. I've got an advance statement which goes to a website which acknowledges the conspiracy and how I've been victimised and systemically and politically abused, and they haven't taken that into consideration. So I did another advance statement and I updated it with a new website because the government cancelled the old one, and I've asked them repeatedly that I want my advance statement acknowledged. This is protocol. You are under obligation to hear my advance statement before you treat me, but they've treated me and they still haven't acknowledged the advance statement. So this is what I said to them. I said, look, I've been told I'm HIV positive, and it's within your remit. I know you don't care for me, but it's within your remit to do the test and find the answer. And when we find the answer, whichever way it is, then Virginia Lay's probably got some questions to answer in the way she's legitimately selected me, acted with a movement to hurt me, and she's told me a devastating diagnosis just before I was left. I had 2 weeks to do this, in order, I think, to cause me harm and aid and abet my suicide of an already vulnerable person. So Virginia Lay of Monash Health has got some questions to answer, and I'm at Monash Health Casey right now, and I have no home, I have no money, and I have no supports. This is how a conspiracy works, and this is how the mechanics of a scapegoat is actually allowed to occur. Sue Ellen's told me she never wants to hear from me again. It's extremely upsetting for me because she was a friend, and my family have all said that it's me who's changed and that I'm not myself, and they refuse to speak to me. That's Doug and April McLean. They've accepted the computer because it had nowhere else to go, and my stuff, dumped it at their house. Thanks for your help, and they have helped, don't get me wrong. I'm grateful for that help, but it seems to be at the lowest possible way and the least obligated they could possibly do to help me. Jodie McLean and Jodie Bongetti and Dave Bongetti have rejected me outright, and so is Brad and Kira McLean, my brother and sister-in-law, and Bruce and Marie McMaster refused to speak to me. Gee, isn't it funny that my public interest disclosures have all been rejected, that no government agency will acknowledge that Steve Isonides, who's guaranteed to me that he was present at murders and who's threatened to kill me, no government agency will legitimately admit that were ever together, and this has caused me problems systemically, universally with the government, and I've been excommunicated. And when you're excommunicated from a government agency at that height and that level, you really do find it very hard to get some help systemically in any agency, whether that be health. I've tried to report being exploited. I've tried to report being drugged and raped by Steve Icenides to police. They won't listen. And it's always focusing on my mental illness and what's my detriment and what's wrong with me. But I actually ask of the world, what's wrong with you? I'm a good person, and I've always been a good person. I don't claim to be a saint, and I've never said that I'm perfect. What needs to happen now is the government needs to acknowledge that me and Steve Icenides were together. That's first of all. The second of all, it would be really helpful if my public interest disclosures were accepted, because they were rejected on account of me not being a public official. But I am a public official because I was employed as a nurse in a public hospital, and I have a federal court document stating that I was employed by the Department of Social Security, and I'm the former partner of a public official who worked for ASIO. That makes me really rock and roll royalty, and I should be looked after by the government, and I can absolutely call out systemic and political corruption. I also am contracted to work for a government agency and work for the government, which also makes me eligible to make a PayID. So if ever any wondered what happened to Richard McLean, who was really murdered by this very corruption in a hospital in 2021, and then I was revived from a certain death, and then there was a whitewashing of that tragedy, you can really, don't ask the gossip, don't ask Steve, don't ask the government, don't ask my parents, don't ask anyone else. Why don't you give me a call and I'll tell you the whole story. I'm actually a good person. I'm equitable, I'm ethical, and I still believe in justice, and I still believe that one day I will get it. I'm now homeless. I have no home to go to. I have no money, and that's been proven now to be set up to fail and pre-decided when my things were heard at government agencies and statutory authorities such as the AAT, the Australian Human Rights Commission, the NDIS, everywhere. And I'm literally homeless. I live at the hospital until Sunday, and I've got no money. I've got an NDIS plan worth $120,000. There is enough in my plan to accommodate me, but the NDIS and Bill Shorten's office has refused to yield to release that funding in order to see me safe. And that's a different way of saying, we want to cause you harm, we want to make you homeless. We acknowledge, they've already acknowledged I've got schizophrenia, I've got ADHD, that I've got adjustment disorder, and that I've also got an acquired brain injury from the suicide attempt in which I bled out. I've been basically murdered by the Australian government and key political, powerful people who've underpinned my destruction. And in addition to that, it's so obvious, but now the same oppressors have covered it up. And let me tell you one thing. They would rather, the government, exploit, exterminate and sacrifice me, kill me, rather than admit liability for the way they have oppressed me, for the very many corrupt public officials, and for them breaking the law. I know the law. I'm not silly. I'm actually a doctor, and I believe in ethics because ethics means to do no harm. But as we can see, anyone from my mother to the hospital to Virginia Lay to the Prime Minister, any agency, even to friends, they reject me, and this does me harm. This is a systemic and political problem. It's almost like a biblical forsaking. And really, I just want help so I can get back into the community, and I want to help serving people where I can be of assistance to human beings and where I can help marginalised people in the community. And after all, I've done that for 30 years as an independent advocate, and I have enormous merit, and I have still enormous faith that this will be possible. And the opposite side of that is I will die. I'm not suicidal, but I can't fight an entire government that doesn't acknowledge a simple fact, and I can't fight people who are judgmental and who judge me for being either different or ill or difficult or on drugs or whatever they want to do, and they haven't really acted compassionately towards me. They haven't heard me, or worse, they've heard me and they still reject me. I've explained my situation many times over on my whistleblowing websites and to authorities and people, and I think it's high time that I've got till Monday until someone releases me from this hospital, and I've got nowhere to go. The NDIS aren't going to pay for it. What am I going to do? I finally got a car. I'm going to get the car. I'm going to pick up my dog, and then what do I do? Even the DSS and DFFS have said they don't find people homes. Even the NDIS have refused to pay accommodation. There's enough there. The Charter of Human Rights of a Person with a Disability that was ratified by the government in 2008 actually state that a person with a disability should be provided appropriate accommodation. That is the law. That is the law that underpins all laws in our country. I'm a free citizen of this democracy, Australia, but I'm treated differently. I'm a scapegoat. Guess what? I have a clean criminal record. I want Virginia Lay to answer the question, why did she tell me I was HIV positive before leaving hospital? I'd like Tim Goss from Africa to say, why did you deny me my chance to get her to Africa and then ban me? Why did the Attorney General Mark Dreyfus block me systemically at the Australian Human Rights Commission when my documented human rights abuses were occurring? Why did personalised support services literally chase me out into the street when they decided that the relationship was over? It's still going, and they owed me a duty of care. Why did Free Living Australia's Imran say he'd gouge my eyes out if I spoke about his woman like that in Afghanistan? Guess what? We're not in Afghanistan. There's a lot of corrupt public officials who have really acted with which to harm me, and that adds up. And I acknowledge a lot of people want to cause me harm, but you know what? If anyone can acknowledge that if you've never stood up for anything, you've never made any enemies. I am staunch in my belief and my human rights and my dignity and my desire to give back to the Australian community, to make reparations for anything I've done wrong, and also to be a better person and to exist in a society which is fair, which is equitable and follows the rule of law. And also the charters of the UN and the Australian human rights, and also the Australian Charter of Human Rights of a Person with a Disability, ratified by the government in 2008, and the Civil Liberties Charter as well. A person needs certain things to be happy: a home, food, medicine. They need to be have some meaningful to something to do, and they need a certain amount of equity or equality and some people in their corner. I've just found Paula. She's from, I can't remember where she's from, but she's a level 3 support coordinator, and she's helping me find another place, but that's only for 2 weeks. If anyone out there believes in justice, you can PayID me to help me, and when I get justice, I will pay you back, and I promise that. I'll put the PayID number below, but as far as my treatment goes, it's really, really abhorrent. It's a cruel way to treat an already vulnerable and marginalised person, and that malice with which the government has treated me is really unforgivable. I'd like to make a truce with the government, and I'd like to be safe. I'm not asking for much. All I want is a place to lay my head and food and medicine with my dog, and I'm not afraid to earn it. I never have. I'm not asking for handouts. I'm asking for an intervention in this socio-political scapegoating in which I've been victimised. It's literally killed me, and then they've covered it up, and they are still trying to kill me and exterminate me just so they can forgive themselves of doing anything wrong, and everyone in the world can blame me for doing something wrong and exonerate themselves for any liability for the harm that's caused to me. I'm not suicidal, but if I die, obviously it's because of the conspiracy and not because I'm mentally ill. That's my little sermon for today. I hope you can all acknowledge and listen to this, because this could happen to anyone. I'm a Human Rights Award-winning artist and author, and I've been gang stalked for many years. Every settlement and everything that I've had at a government agency, including my recent work cover at the AAT, has been doomed to fail because I've never ever had legal help. I can't go to police, I can't get a lawyer, and I can't be a whistleblower. I've got no money, I've got no rights, I've got no friends, I've got no agency to act, and it's really quite an abhorrent situation. I'm not a bad person. Can anyone help me? I'll put my PayID down there. Email me on richarddrawsstuff@gmail.com. This is really an abhorrent way to treat someone. I'm a valuable person on this earth, but the government doesn't think so. Steve Ioannidis should be shot, so should the Attorney General, so should the Prime Minister. And for the people who've forsaken and rejected me, you'll be known, if I die, you'll be known as the people who've been infiltrated by a vicious conspiracy to pervert the course of justice, and that you've been corrupted by it, and you've used your own petty judgments to exploit and reject me, and then you've exonerated yourself from all wrongdoing by saying I'm a bad person. I'm not a bad person. I reckon there's a lot of bad people out there, and they deserve to answer the questions, and they deserve to be infamous, not me, who is an infamous vagrant of this country and an official scapegoat and excommunicated from the Australian government. So, that's my little rant today. If you can help me out, I need a home, I need a bed, I need to pick up my dog, Crystal, on Monday, and we need a place to stay. We need some rights, we need some legal help, we need an advocate, and we need people to stand in my corner. Because you know what? I'm not fucking done yet. And you can try and kill me, but God can only take me. So try as you might. Do your hardest to cause me harm, to reject me, to say it's me, to blame my mental illness, blame drugs, blame whatever you want. But at the end of the day, after this is published, we all know that humans are judgmental, shallow creatures, and in actual fact that they are the reason, and their judgments are the reason of my distress and my incarceration and my poverty. And I reckon all you should start to feel a little bit of the heat that's been packed on me for 20 years and has ended in this, a hospitalisation at Monash Health, Casey, and I have no money, I've got no rights, I've got no access to the law, no equality before it, and the government, I believe, are trying to systemically and politically silence me and fucking kill me. It's as simple as that. I don't deserve to die, I deserve to live. And Virginia Lay of Dandenong Monash Health has really got some questions to answer, as of a lot of other people. Liz Linsberg at the Australian Human Rights Commission, I could go on, there's so many of them. It's a systemic political problem, and I'm looking for a way out. And I was thinking maybe I should approach an outlaw motorcycle gang, because they hate the government and the police, and they haven't done anything to me lately. So I'm going to swear allegiance to any motorcycle gang that'll take me on, put me up, keep my dog and me safe. I'm a poof, so you'll have to know that. And at the same time, if you keep me safe, we'll finally get justice. I'll be exonerated. I'll forgive everyone for doing what they've done to me. But they have to acknowledge it first. I'm looking for answers, I'm looking for a solution, and I want a better life. I deserve it. I've worked for it, and I deserve it. So there's my little sermon today. If you can help, please get in touch. Thanks.